Okay, so I'm going to give you an overview of IB history. So obviously it's a 2-year course, and at the end of the 2 years, you're going to have to sit 3 papers. If you do higher level, and 2 papers if you take standard level. So IB history course. So paper 1 is rights and protest. It's a 1 hour long paper, and it's a source paper. So the students will have 4 sources in which they need to work with in order to answer questions 13, 14, 15, and 16 on the paper, ranging from 2 to 3 mark questions up to a 9 mark question. Normally, students will do very well on this paper because there's a set format on how it's asked. Paper 2 then is a 1 hour, 30-minute paper with 1 question from the Cold War and 1 question from authoritarian states. Paper 3 then, so if you're a higher level student, you'll take paper 3, and this consists of 3 different topics. And you have to write 3 essays in 2 hours and 30 minutes. And finally, you have an individual research assignment or an internal assessment, which is 2,200 words. And we usually write this in year 12, and this contributes to your overall mark. It could be on any topic in history once it's not in the last 10 years. So it can be something you're interested in. It can be related to the country you're from, but it has to be a narrow focus because it's only 2,200 words. So paper 1 then. So for rights and protest, we study civil rights movement in the USA as our first topic for rights and protest, and our second topic we study is apartheid. And these questions rotate every year, so the IB will decide which one they're going to ask, and you will not know one until the day of the exam. So this is the source-based paper. So you'll receive picture sources, cartoons, and written sources, both primary and secondary sources, with which you need to work with in order to answer the questions. The paper is 1 hour long, as I said already. Paper 2 then. So for paper 2, both higher level and standard level students will study paper 2, and the topic that we look at is the Cold War as our first topic. This allows us to delve into different proxy wars. It allows us to look at the relationship between the US and the USA at the time, and the influence or the involvement of China and the relationship with the USSR and the relationship with the USA. Authoritarian leaders, so there's a mix of leaders we can look at. Currently in year 13, we're looking at Castro, Hitler, and Stalin. Previously, we've also looked at Mao. Depending on the students I teach, I allow them to look at different authoritarian leaders in which they are interested in. We try to look at a mix of fascist leaders and communist leaders so we can do a good comparison. So we look at their emergence, how they emerge as authoritarian leaders. So for example, we look at how Castro emerged at the end of the 50s in Cuba. We also look at the emergence of Lenin, and then how Stalin consolidated power after Lenin. And we also look at the emergence of Hitler. And then we look at how all of these leaders, these authoritarian leaders, consolidated their power in each country that they ruled in. And we look at their relationship with the economy, their foreign policy, the removal of opposition, the role of women in society and policies towards women, the policies towards minorities, and how successful were they in establishing an authoritarian state or control in the country they ruled in. And finally, paper 3, if you're a higher level student, you have to study paper 3. If you're a standard level student, you only study paper 1 and paper 2. So there's a mixture of different topics we can study. There's actually 17 topics in paper 3 for the history of Europe. These are a sample of the ones that we've looked at over the last 3 or 4 years. So Imperial Russia Revolution, the establishment of the Soviet Union, European states in the interwar years, 1918 to 1939. Within that topic, we look at Germany, Italy, Spain, and we also look at the interwar years in either Ireland or Britain at the time. For Site of Berlin, so we're looking at the road or the pathway to war and what happened during the war. And then the Soviet Union and post-Soviet Russia, we're looking at Stalin all the way up to Putin, the different leaders who ruled in the Soviet Union, and then the fall of the Soviet Union and the emergence of Yeltsin and Putin afterwards. As I said, you only need to study 3 out of these 4. This is just a sample. Depending on the students, I will give them an option at the beginning of year 12 of what areas they enjoy studying, because that will make that would make it easier for them to engage with the topic. Finally, if you have any questions, you can email me, shirley.english@doverbritishschool.com, or you can come to see me in W34 if you have any questions about IB history. Thank you.